Welcome back to Time Out with the Sports Doctor podcast, where life, sports, and medicine intersect. We're very glad that you continue to support this podcast. You can get the information on any platform where podcasts are played, as well as getting the video content on YouTube. But if you want to just get one place to find all the content, go to my website at drderrick.thesportsdoctor.com, and you will find everything on that website. So without further ado, let's get into this episode. So this is a special edition. We have Suzette Burgess, who is my oldest child.
The best one.
My oldest child, who is also helps me with production, helps me with filming, helps me with editing. A lot of the reels and a lot of the stuff that you see on social media comes from Suzette's work. So thank you. You've been here since we shot our first trailer right here in this basement over 2 years ago now, when we submitted for the podcast.
I don't even know how it got in. It took like 30 tries.
Yeah, but that was our first time ever being behind the camera. So, thank you for all that work, even though you slack off a lot.
What are you talking about? Me slacking?
But thank you for that. And, thank you as the oldest child for
being the best one,
for always being a leader, for always, trying to help out and to teach lessons, teaching your brothers and sisters lessons the hard way. But, thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome.
So today what we're going to do, she's going to ask me questions. So we're flipping the mic and she's going to ask me questions. And we're going to talk about some topics, about her being a child of a physician or two physicians, being a child of a dentist, orthopedic surgeon, and a pediatric dentist, as well as the big transition that's looming. So
that's crazy.
It's crazy. So what are your thoughts right now?
I'm kind of nervous.
Nervous? Me too. I'm nervous as well. What else
You're
think?
used to this.
What do you mean I'm used to this?
You're used to doing your podcast stuff. I'm always behind.
Oh, you're nervous about the podcast. Well, yeah, the podcast is not.
Were you talking about the move?
I'm talking about the move. The podcast is preparing to move.
I don't want to move.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I like where I live. I have a beautiful home. I got good friends. I live in Parental, and then we got the best school district in like the county or something. I don't know.
In the state?
Yeah, the state.
So
you're going from number 1 to number 7. That's crazy.
What do you mean by that? Well, okay. So
like half the things that they're going to teach, like I probably might already know like half of it.
Why do you think that?
Because
you think the school might be a little easier? So you might be a little more prepared going in there, which is a great thing.
But I like getting pushed. I don't want to be like the nerd in the class
So you like being challenged. Well, that's good. So, I believe you will still get challenged.
Hopefully.
But if at any time you're not getting challenged, we can always
move back to pedal.
We can always correct that. So you can talk to teachers, you can talk to administrators to make sure that you're getting pushed the way that you need to. What else do you worry about in a move? Friends, teammates.
I feel like if I make their basketball team, that I'm gonna be like that one person that don't know nobody and everybody's like been together since they were little. So that's true.
It's a possibility, right? It's a possibility you could be the only person on the team, or it's a possibility that everybody's coming from different schools. So
that's not always how it happens.
It's not always how it happens, right? So a new player on a team, how do you treat somebody when you meet them the first time?
I give like a warm welcome because I know how it feel like whenever I first moved to Pedal.
All right, so this is not the first move you've done. So we moved to Pedal 2019. What grade were you in?
3rd.
So how was that experience?
I cried my first day. Like after y'all dropped, because I guess they had this thing where you could drop off your kid and then say bye on the first day. Mm-hmm. I cried because I didn't know anybody in my class.
But how did that experience go?
It was cool. Like after like the 3rd day.
But at first you wanted to go back to your old school, right?
But I'm glad that we moved because.
So the last move was a positive move. It was a good move in the end.
I thought this one's gonna be a negative move.
Why is that?
Because I'm in 7th grade and it's not. I'm gonna be going into 7th grade and then it's not gonna be like 2nd grade where everybody's gonna be like the same personality, always happy and stuff. Like it's a big old change.
So you feel like it'd be harder because you're older?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. What else?
I don't know. I'm just happy it has a pool.
So you're excited about?
Because I already said I was having a pool party.
So what else are you excited about?
Probably. Like, I want to move. I want to take this house and move to Madison.
So if you could move without having to undergo the change and transition, would you be excited about it?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing with change, with life. You know, I've been through a lot of change, right? So we moved a lot because of training. We moved a lot because of jobs.
I
And it
was
can be
talking to
difficult.
Nana about that. So I haven't had one stable place my whole life. I've been moving all the time.
But what's the benefit of that, would you say?
Probably meeting new people and meeting new personalities and like having a good impact. But sometimes it's not always like always the same. Like you learn something different every time.
Learn something different. You get to experience new places, new people. I mean, you have a lot of life experiences to be 12 compared to some people who might have just lived and gone to the same place. I lived in the same house my whole life until I went to college.
Didn't you go to the same school?
Went to the same school, the same house, same school system from kindergarten to 12.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Right. I mean, it worked. It worked. I knew the same people, but I only knew the same people.
Exactly, that's the thing.
But your experience is different. You go.
It's like I'm gonna be that new kid and stuff.
So new kid is hard. You think the new kid is hard? Yeah. Well, I mean, but you always, when you have a new kid in your class, you reach out and try to take care of them. So I believe because you do that to other people, that same thing is going to come back to you.
Hopefully.
And you're a good person. You're a good student. You're a helpful student to your teachers, to your classmates. You're a good athlete. You're a good teammate. So all those skills and qualities that you possess are going to be very important in this next season. People are going to still like you. People are still going to support you. You're going to still excel.
Hopefully.
No, I mean, that's me as a dad. That's what I think.
Okay.
What questions you got for me?
How did you get the job to go to Jackson? Because I just heard like something happened and you got a call. But like, how did it start off?
Wow, like how did it really start off? Like,
how they know to call you instead of calling somebody else?
All right, we'll just deal with this job. We're not going to go all the way back.
No, just
this job. All right, because that's a whole nother episode. It's how we really got here. But
might as well do it.
So how do we move into Jackson is because number one, been in Laurel for 9 years, right? And came in, you've seen all the work we've done in Laurel, from working with athletes, building a sports medicine program, going to Saturday morning injury clinics.
That's so nasty.
You know, going to football games on Friday night. We've done a lot to build something that's reputable. And mentorship, we always kind of talking about having mentors. I had one of my mentors who worked at the university. And ever since I moved to Mississippi, I would always reach out to him for things that I didn't understand. So I would go to him with my problems. So this is the interesting part about it. So I built his confidence by asking him the questions about things I didn't understand versus just showing him all the things that I knew perfect and everything that went perfect. I went to him with my problems. All right. So one thing I want you to understand is that sometimes when you are vulnerable and show people your problems and say, look, I don't understand. I need some assistance. What do I do in this situation? They're able to learn your thought process. So there was an availability, with Jackson State, where I got the chance to go up and help be their team physician over the last football season. So as I was in Jackson working and being able to kind of be exposed to new things and be able to see kind of another level that challenged me, and also being able to be in a situation where I can teach the next generation of surgeons, being in a situation.
If you start with Joy, don't start with Joy on that. My dad's gonna be a
assistant professor. Yeah, so they get a real kick out of that. But I mean, that's important for me to be able to teach the next generation to be able to prepare the next generation of surgeons, to be involved in that academic process. Because as a minority, it's very rarely you see a Black teacher, right?
We got
So
like 2 of them.
it's the same thing in orthopedics and in surgery. It's very rare that you will have a Black instructor that you can work with. And I feel like that's important from an exposure standpoint. And it's also important for those who are trying to come along through this training process, which can be very grueling. And a lot of people don't make it through. So I feel like that's another part of my calling. And the fact that I like to mentor and be involved in helping people, right? I feel like this gives me a larger platform to do that. So, but just like you said, it was very difficult because I think about you, Derrick, Julia. I think about Mama, her work. I have to think about all those things, making a decision to move, but I feel like this is where God is leading us. And I know he's going to take care of all of us through this season. So that's how we got here.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And this keeps me awake at night. When you snuggle in your bed, this wakes me up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to sit there and think about it and pray about it and say, God, are you sure this is where I'm supposed to go? Because I don't want to lead my family the wrong direction, chasing a dream. But talking about all the fun you had in Jackson. What did you tell me about that?
I didn't like was because the whole Coach Prime era, everybody wanted to see it. And I was included that everybody wanted to see him. So it was like 5-hour traffic to get there.
So it's crazy on game day. But talk about that experience.
But whenever game day, so I'm not trying to be rude or nothing, but like HBCU stuff, like they don't play like country music, stuff like that. Like whenever you go like to SEC game, you might hear like a little bit Black music, and then like it's like a whole game, and then you get to see people like that are your color cheering for your team and stuff. And then like you feel like that's your family out there, even though you don't know who they are. And like whenever your dad's on the team, and then like whenever we went to that Orange Blossom thing, I met Miami. Like 2 new players. And then I called one of them my brother that got drafted to the Chicago Bears.
So Nugget Warren, right? You're part of the family Nugget if you didn't know that.
Yeah, my mom definitely thinks that too. But they're like, whenever we saw them in the escalators or whatever.
In the elevator, pregame in the elevator, we were in the hotel.
We were talking, and they were like telling us everything that we needed to be like, making sure that we needed to watch and everything. And then whenever you see the band, that's crazy because they're really, 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 really talented. And they're going to try to get my dad out there to try to dance with them.
So you enjoy the whole HBCU experience, the game day experience. And like you said, with Coach Prime, it was really crazy.
On HBCU, but I don't know which one yet.
Well, I mean, the exposure, because you've been exposed to it at a young age. So you can see and you can feel the difference, right?
And later, I was like, Mom, can I take my friends and stuff? Because especially my Black ones, because they don't like really get to see us all the time.
So it was a whole different culture. And every week it was a new experience on game day, huh? Y'all was sitting in the stands, always trying to figure out who the entertainers were. And
oh, yeah, because Mama didn't know I knew some of the rappers, but a lot of them I didn't know because I didn't see their face. I've never heard of them. But there's only like 3 of them that I knew, and I forgot the name of them.
What else would you like to ask?
Ask you?
Yeah.
How many times did you miss parties and stuff for studying? Like, because whenever you get in college, like, you still do your work, but then on the weekend, it's like parties and stuff time.
So when I was in college, or you talking about medical school? So what did it take? Sure. So in undergraduate, I lived in a dorm. I lived in a dorm with other people for a year. So that was a great experience because coming from home, I was able to meet a lot of new friends that you met on my dorm floor. Neil, Alfred, Chad, who went to school with us. Of course, McAllister was my roommate.
That's my godfather.
People, right, your godfather. So that was not necessarily even going out. And then through the fraternity, I met Eric, Dr. Peters.
That's what I call my uncle.
So you met your uncle. So I met a lot of people, as you see, from being at Xavier. Then when I got into medical school, we had to go to class all day. We went to class and then we had to study. So it was like a full-time job. And we only really got to go out the day of a test. So we had tests every 2 weeks. And then that day, it was a Monday, and we would always go out on a Monday. And every other weekend, sometimes we'll get to go out for maybe one day. But we couldn't, every time we go out, we've been thinking about the fact that we need to get back to studying. It was a whole lifestyle. So we're really being pushed. We got a lot of studying to do. So it's a sacrifice. And that's what we call delayed gratification, because we literally put our lives on hold, not only during medical school, and then we started residency. And not only, so during residency, that's when Mom and I got married. And before I graduated residency, we had you. So we had a child. She was a resident. I was a resident. So we had to do, it was either going to work, going to study, or taking care of you. And that pretty much consumed our lives for
Paula should have moved down there
for a long period of time. And thank God for family, because we needed their support.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth it in the end, because if you really want to know how you get there, that's where it starts. But that's way too much to talk about in one.
We gotta do the whole thing.
We could do a series.
Going, oh wait, you keep on.
No, I've been begging you.
I have been telling
I've been begging you to get on this podcast.
No, I tell him that I was going to do it, and then it's either basketball, show choir, cheer, softball, any of that stuff. And then we'll be watching the game, and I'll be like, okay, come on, let's go out and do it. And then I go take a shower, and then apparently we're watching a movie and it doesn't get done.
So it's a busy lifestyle. So all the things that we are, right. So we allow y'all to be busy, but we still work. And you're not the only child.
I work too.
So you have activities, your brothers and sister, they have activities, but we want you guys to have that exposure. So it's worth it for us to be every night at a ball field or going to a show choir event and still trying to figure out how we're going to get dinner, how we're going to get homework done and get ready for work the next day. But that's the sacrifices we make for you. So
that's a good sacrifice.
So that's why I'm asking. I know it's going to be a sacrifice for you to move, but that's why I asked that of you, because I know in the end of the day, I'm going to sacrifice for you. So this will be somewhat of a sacrifice for you, but I think it's going to be a good experience for you.
That's what everybody keeps on telling. I'm like, no, because they're like, well, Pell was a good school. I think you need to move.
So what does it feel like when people always say, oh my goodness, you're moving? How does that make you feel?
Whenever the first time, like as soon the day of that we heard it, I talked to people at church about it, but I didn't talk to kids about it. Like I did before, and I had that, oh my gosh, you're moving, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then so I kept up from people at Pell until like a month of like until like March. And then my friend's dad, because we packed up half of the house, and I didn't even tell like my best friends and stuff because I didn't like want to get that feeling of guilt and stuff. And then she comes over and I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell you and blah, blah, blah. But not a lot of people know and stuff. But I said I'm having a pool party.
Gotcha. That'll be your consolation prize, is a pool party, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Like what I did with the reunion.
All right. What else you got?
Was Nana and Papa hard on you? Like whenever you were around your like family and stuff, or like a daily basis?
Were they hard on me, like just be as a child? So I would say yes. I got a lot of spankings, whippings as a child.
Were they leash parents?
Were they leash parents?
Or were they helicopter parents?
So my mom stayed home with me for the first 9 years of my life.
That's what mama's boy.
So she delayed her future as a teacher to be home with my brother and I until I was 9 years old. Then she went back to school. So a lot of people will want to say that I only wanted to be around my mom.
That's true. You can even ask me.
But my parents were pretty strict on us, you know, especially from a grade standpoint. My father, when I was in the third grade, he told me he didn't want me to make any more B's because he felt that I had the potential of making all A's. And I responded to him.
B's.
So if he hadn't done that, I probably just continued to make B's and whatever. But he challenged me and I responded to it. But yeah, my parents, we didn't go spend the night at a lot of people's houses. A lot of people would come to our house to play. They were kept a close eye on us because they were trying to protect us.
That sounds like you and mom.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So that's why
So they're basically helicopter. My great helicopter.
So you got helicopter grandparents. There you go.
But they're better now.
They are better now. Everybody evolved and changed over time. And when they're not yours, you can be a lot nicer too. All right.
Thank you for continuing to support this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a 5-star review. And if you haven't done so, subscribe so you continue to get the updated episodes. Until later, peace. Time out with the sports doctor. Keep our head right in the game. We ain't never stopping. You are now tuned in. Trust you don't want to miss. This is where life, sports, and medicine